What's going on, everybody? So today we got the official patch notes for Season 4 of Diablo 4. Much anticipated season, lots of huge changes, and we're going to go through them line by line. Now, before I get started, I will say this is a massive patch. There is a ton to go through here. This is going to be a long video, so just look down at the bottom. I will put chapters in so you can click through, see what parts you're most interested in, and maybe skip some of the ones that you don't care about as much. Of course, don't forget to like and subscribe if this is helpful for you, and leave me a comment letting me know what you're most excited about for Season 4 of D4. Let's get into it. Alright, developers note, we appreciate the feedback from the PTR, so the following section highlights key bug fixes and feedback adjustments. Feature updates. There is no longer a chance for masterworking to fail. It's going to make a lot of people very happy. General rule, when you're removing barriers in the game, people like that. So, yeah, W. The masterwork animation has been removed for non-milestone ranks, 1 to 3, 5 to 7, etc. That animation was pretty slow. This is, again, just a quality of life thing, speeding the game up. Love to see that. The tempering results screen now shows the results affix, its role in the affix range, more information, more visibility. Various UI improvements for the tempering and masterworking experiences. Great. Added multiple tiers of masterworking material caches that transmute far more materials than were previously available. Making it easier. Again, good things, taking the feedback. A visual indication has been added to the imprint UI, which indicates which legendary affixes are currently equipped. You can now search the term equip or equipped within the Codex of Power to list currently equipped affixes. That's fantastic. Again, it's just making our lives easier. And yeah, it's just a good change. We added an inventory icon to indicate items that have at least one greater affix. Love it. When items with greater affixes drop in game, they'll also have the same icon to indicate they possess a greater affix. Perfect. So that's like in your inventory, you can filter by ancestral, sacred, things like that. We'll be able to filter so we can see when something has a greater affix, just making life good. Helltide and the Pit. Very exciting section here. So the party member that spends the rune shards to open the pit gets 100% of the masterworking materials. The rest of the party receives half the amount. Sure, good equity for the person who actually spends the mass. Can't be mad at that. Artillery and blast wave shrines no longer spawn in the pit. That's totally fine. You're going to have to use your abilities more to get through, but, you know, it is fun sometimes to just use a blast wave shrine and, well, blast. Hellborn spawn chance in the Helltide zones has been increased. Helltides are going to go nuts in Season 4. It's going to be awesome. Baneful Heart drop rate has been adjusted to be more consistent. These are for a new Helltide mechanic. Overall loot quality from the Blood Maiden has been improved. Better loot, no one's mad. Loot quality has also been improved for players that contribute materials to summon the Blood Maiden as a contribution bonus rewards. This is similar to the one above. If you use the mats, you're going to get better loot when that stuff happens. Doomsayer variants, which used to drop a chest of Doomsaying on defeat, will now drop the contents of a Doomsaying chest on death with no additional cinders cost. That's cool, because you got this reward, you had to spend cinders to access it when you were collecting cinders for something else. Now you just get the reward. That's great, and definitely something they probably got a lot of feedback from the PTR on. Balance adjustments. Many tempering affixes that were either overperforming or underperforming have been adjusted to meet intended power levels. Pretty standard. The tempering affix for maximum size increase for various skills and effects, such as Dust Devils or Bone Spirit, is now capped at 100%. So we see the first measure taken to try to limit some of the crazy stuff that came out of builds in the PTR. Itemization updates. For full details on itemization, including legendary aspects and the Codex of Power, item affixes, greater affixes, tempering, masterworking, please read our Season 4 blog. Here are some of the major items coming with itemization updates. Extracting an aspect now upgrades it in the Codex of Power. All aspects now exist in the Codex of Power. For me personally, this is probably the single most exciting change coming in Season 4. I can't tell you how frustrating it is to have a stash that is just full of aspects or pieces of gear that have aspects that maybe you don't need now, but you kind of want to try this other build, and so maybe you're holding it. We are getting our stash back. I'll still take more stash tabs, but honestly, the ones that we have are going to go so much further with aspects going straight to the Codex of Power. This is beautiful. Various item affixes have been updated, and overall, the pool of affixes has been condensed. Additionally, greater affixes have been introduced. This is, I mean, Loot Reborn, right? This is the whole thing. They're simplifying gear, they're making it stronger. We all knew this was coming, and, you know, yeah. Appearing only on Ancestral Legendary and unique items, these are more powerful 1.5x versions of normal affixes. Each item affix has a chance to be a greater affix in World Tier 4. New tempering and masterworking systems allow deeper customization of items and access to new affixes. Legendary items dropped from enemy level 95 plus are always 925 item power. This is fantastic. Again, instead of having to farm Duriel a million times, obviously you do that for Uber Uniques, but the other thing is that's where you're getting your 925 gear, like almost all the time currently. Now it's just going to be legendary items from enemy level 95 plus, which is what, Nightmare Dungeon tier, I think 41. So 41 and higher, you're just going to be getting 925 all the time. Unique items can now drop earlier in the game. Perfect. This is gonna be really great for leveling when, like, you know, you maybe have a build in mind and you can't get it online until you get a certain unique, so you have to get to World Tier 3. Everything feels like clunkier and worse. Now you have a shot to get that set up in World Tier 2, or World Tier 1 if you choose to play there. World Tier 3 unique items now drop as non-sacred in World Tier 1 and 2. World Tier 4 unique items now drop as sacred in World Tier 3. Okay, so some of those harder to get uniques that you maybe can't get sacred versions of, now you can. It's just going to have to come from World Tier 4. But again, this allows you to get your uniques sooner and get your build up and running sooner. So that's great. Uber unique items can start dropping from monster level 55, and they drop at 925 item power. Let's not get too excited just because they can. Doesn't necessarily mean they will. For a few very lucky people, they will, but, you know, we're just going to keep our hopes in check on that one. The minimum levels required to equip Sacred and Ancestral item has been reduced. Sacred you can now equip at 35 and Ancestral at 55. This is fantastic. I don't think anyone waits till level 60, you know, at least on softcore, to try their first capstone push for Elias. Being able to get to World Tier 4 and actually use the gear earlier, nothing but good. Alright, note, changes from the PTR have been highlighted in red. Game updates, accessibility, new character highlights. We've added an option to highlight NPCs, characters, and enemies found within Sanctuary to make them easier to distinguish against different environments. Okay. Standard highlight sets the in-game lighting to emphasize the dark and gritty world of Sanctuary as intended. Sure. Additional highlights. Greatly increases the contrast for the characters within the world. In-game options can be used to modify the intensity as well as the colors. Okay, that's good. Helltide. Let's get into it. Helltide has been updated to provide more challenges and rewards. Helltide Threat. So, here's how it's going to work. As you battle through Helltides, you will generate threat. How much will be determined by the difficulty of monsters and how often you're securing tortured gifts within Helltide. There are 3 Helltide threat tiers. Each increase the danger and frequency of monster ambushes. At tier 3, you become Hellmarked. Achieving maximum threat will initiate a brief ambush frenzy of maximum enemy density. The ambush will end with a final Hellborn spawn, an immensely powerful agent of Hell, resurrected from the tortured souls of Sanctuary's most powerful champions. There are 5 variants representing each class in Diablo 4. So it sounds like we're going to get Helltide bosses based on rogues, druids, sorcs, etc., which is pretty cool if true. Upon activating the Hellborn ambush, your threat will reset. Dying will reset your threat. Any Grand Theft Auto players, we're getting some of that energy here, but it's a really cool system. It's going to allow us to get ambushed, huge hordes of mobs, which will very likely drop, like, I don't know, 1 billion cinders or something. Great quality of life improvement, great gameplay improvement. Helltides are going to be fun, and most likely the most effective way to level in Season 4. Accursed Ritual. Baneful Hearts can primarily be earned through opening tortured gift chests and can be used at the Accursed Ritual location. Baneful Hearts can also drop from Hellborn Demons and Doomsayers. A scene of shocking gore, the Accursed Ritual is the ultimate testament to the disturbing lengths the followers of Hell will go to appease their dark wishes. It's here where you can begin the Accursed Ritual. Deposit 3 Baneful Hearts to begin the ritual, and you'll be swarmed with a dense demonic ambush. Other players within your subzone will be alerted the ritual has begun if they wish to join you in your fight. This is like almost exactly like from the vampire areas in Season 2. Those were awesome, and yeah, just huge mobs, tons of loot, tons of leveling XP, just good stuff. This ambush will climax with the arrival of the Blood Maiden, an immensely powerful demonic creature who will offer great reward upon her death. We will see how great that reward is. World Tier 1 and 2 adjustments. A version of Hell Tides has been introduced for World Tiers 1 and 2 with the following adjustments. All tortured gifts are mystery chests, cool. No roaming bosses, and monster density adjusted to match the expected difficulty of World Tier 3 and 4. So if we actually get density changes at each difficulty level, that's pretty cool. Alright, on to items, new ones entirely. So general, meaning these can go with any class. Unique items, Tyrael's Might, I believe this is the new Uber Unique. While at full life, your skills unleash a divine barrage dealing damage. We're going to have to wait and see what this looks like and how it works. I'm sure there's going to be some crazy things to do with it. It's probably just going to be awesome, but we'll wait and see. Exciting stuff to get another Uber in the game. Yen's Blessing, unique boots. They say that casting a skill has a 40 to 60% chance to cast a non-mobility, non-ultimate skill that is currently on cooldown. This effect can only occur once every 8 seconds. It's definitely going to be some synergy with this, and getting certain builds back. If you think of like builds that use the Nature's Fury key passive for Druid or things like that, where you're constantly trying to proc things using other things, I could definitely see this making an appearance. Legendary aspects. Aspect of Frosty Strides. While below 45 to 60% life, Evade freezes close enemies for cold damage and applies vulnerable to them for 3 seconds. That's pretty crazy as a get out of jail free mechanism if you find yourself in trouble. Aspect of Concussive Strikes. Lucky hits. Damaging an enemy has up to 20% chance to daze them for 2 seconds. You deal 5 to 20% increased damage to dazed enemies. I immediately am thinking of boss stagger with this, right? Because you can't daze a boss, but if a daze effect hits a boss, they're going to get stagger. A really high attack speed type build that's just doing tons of ticks of damage with this type of aspect on might just become insane to stagger bosses. We'll have to see, but there's definitely some potential there. Alright, on to Barbarian stuff. Unique items. Ariad's Bearing. These are unique pants. Ancients you summon are empowered. Corlic creates an earthquake that deals physical damage over 4 seconds when he leaps. Talik leaves behind dust devils that deal damage while he whirlwinds. And Madawak ignites the ground, burning enemies for an additional damage over 4 seconds when he upheaves the ground. Okay, first of all, it's cool to have a unique for Call of the Ancients, and I guess Ancients that come from other aspects would probably benefit from this too. The real question is, did they finally fix the bugged damage? Call of the Ancients doesn't scale right now at all. Your tooltip will say they should be hitting for 50 to 70k normal. They're still out there doing 1,000 damage when you're level 100. So if they fixed Call of the Ancients, this is just going to be a cool build. I don't know how great it'll be, but it will be fun. So cool pants. Twin Strikes, unique gloves. After casting Double Swing 4 times, your next Double Swing will hit 2 additional times, each dealing 10 to 25% increased damage. And here we go, with the Dust Devils and the Double Swing. Double Swing is going to be awesome. This is only going to make it more awesome. So Twin Strikes, unique gloves. Aspects for Barbarian. Aspect of Fierce Winds. Your shout skills create 3 Dust Devils that deal damage to enemies along their path. Your Dust Devils are 5 to 20% bigger and deal 1% increased damage for each 1% of their size is increased. So this caps at 20, right? But actually, you can get it up to 100, like we saw earlier, using the masterworking. So this is very similar to the mechanic that made Bone Spear and Hoda so incredibly strong, was that you get a 1% damage increase per point of something. We'll have to see if this is like a true multiplier or what this turns out to be. We'll see if it's a true multiplier or what it turns out to be. But this is, part of what's going to make Dust Devils in this season. On to the Druid. Unique items. Earthbreaker, unique ring. Landslide causes the ground to erupt in tectonic spikes, which continue to deal 0.6 to 0.9 damage over 2 seconds. Casting Landslide in this area has a 20 to 30% chance to cause additional landslide pillars to spawn within. So think of aspect of the aftershock, I think it's called, where your landslide pillars hit twice, and now you're doing it in this area, and it has a 20 to 30% chance to make it happen again. There's definitely a scenario with a lot of attack speed where landslide could become a very, very good endgame build where you are just constantly pummeling landslides. Can't wait to see how that works. I'm a landslide enjoyer. As you see, I've done a build on that before. Wildheart Hunger, unique boots. When you shapeshift into a werewolf or werebear, you gain Wildheart for 5 seconds. Wildheart grants you 1 to 1.5% increased damage with shapeshifting skills every 2 seconds, stacking 20 times. So I guess if you can shift incredibly fast, you could get a good damage multiplier out of this. It might have some synergy with Bestial Rampage. It'll be cool to see what it does. Legendary aspects. Aspect of Fevered Mauling. When you hit at least one enemy with Maul, increase its attack speed by 1 to 2.5%, and you gain 1 to 3% damage reduction for 5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Interesting. A lot of builds right now don't really make use of Maul. Maybe this will be nice. Just have to see what it feels like in game. Alright, then Necromancer. Uniques. Ebon Piercer, a unique amulet. Blight also shoots 4 smaller projectiles that pierce enemies and deal shadow damage over 3 seconds. Interesting. I like these new uniques that are like, I mean, we've had some before, but it seems like a lot of them are functionally changing how abilities work, and that creates a lot of cool build options and variety. So I think this is a great direction for these items they're adding to the game. Brewer's Embrace. Unique gloves. Blood Surge consumes corpses to cause mini-novas, dealing damage. Wow. Damage is increased by 10% per target drained by the initial cast, up to 50. Damage is also increased by 20% for each corpse consumed. Whoa. Okay. Blood Surge was already really good. It's about to go crazy with these gloves. That is quite a unique, it sounds like on paper. Legendary aspects. Aphotic aspect. Skeletal priests empower your skeletal warriors to deal shadow damage and have a 5 to 20% chance to stun enemies for 1.5 seconds. Cool. There's going to be so many options with minions next season. They're going to be crazy OP, which I think is well deserved. Necros, they get their time in the sun here, and I, for one, couldn't be happier about it. But this is just another way to change things up, it looks like. Rogue. Unique items. Scoundrel's Kiss. Unique ring. Rapid fire now lobs exploding arrows that deal 15 to 25% increased damage. The projectile pattern is now more predictable from the PTR. This is so cool. This is another thing where it's like we have a new way to run the same ability, a new type of build just unlocks real W's in this section, in my opinion. Saboteur's Signet. Unique ring. Casting Flurry has a 15 to 30% chance to release stun grenades that deal physical damage and stun enemies for 1 second. Your grenade skills have a 2% lucky hit chance. This is interesting because when this is a second sentence like this is going to be true regardless of the first sentence, at least in most items that currently exist in the game. So this is actually really cool because Flurry just like needed something. If you're playing melee, it's lagging behind Twisting Blades in almost every way. It is a cool ability, and I would like to see it have its day in the sun. But yeah, this is very, very interesting. And being able to lucky hit with grenades and some of those aspects that drop grenades, and then you have a lucky hit build, there could be some very cool stuff that comes out of this. Legendary aspects. Aspect of High Velocity. Barrage arrows now pierce through one enemy. Barrage has a 10 to 20% increased attack speed. Cool. More Barrage chaos. Just cover the whole screen in arrows. I am here for it. Onto the Sorcerer. Uniques. Fractured Winter Glass. Here is the one. Unique amulet. Casting Frozen Orb is a 35 to 50% chance to spawn a random conjuration when it explodes. Lucky hit, your conjurations have up to a 50 to 70% chance to launch a Frozen Orb at nearby enemies. Get ready to see 1 million Frozen Orbs at every World Boss and Legion event in the Helltide. This build is going to be so fun, so popular, and so strong. They nerfed it some from the PTR. It's not even going to matter. They did also do this. Extra explosions from the aspect of Frozen Orbit do not trigger this effect, as the unique calls out casting. It was an unintended interaction that was in the PTR. So, it'll be worse than the PTR. It's still going to be awesome. Flameweaver, unique gloves. Casting Firebolt through your firewall causes it to split into 4 bolts, each dealing 80 to 100% more damage. Flameweaver now splits Firebolts into 3 instead of 4, and the damage is buffed to 30 to 70 from 10 to 30. So less Firebolts, they gave some damage back to compensate. My immediate curiosity It's either the staff or the gloves with Fireball right now that cause it to become multiple Fireballs anyways. And I'm like, now is each one of those going to split into 4? Can't wait to see how this works. Have to figure out a way to really like throw Fireballs out, put Firebolts through them, but this could be super cool. You might cover the entire screen in Firebolts. Exciting stuff. Legendary aspects. Aspect of Tenuous Destruction. Deal 25 to 40% increased damage while you have no defensive skills on your action bar. Okay, it's a good multiplier. Unless the way Sorc is thought about completely changes, this might never get used because most Sorc builds use like either 3 or even all 4 defensive skills. I can't picture really one that's going to use none of them unless you're just full glass cannon and you cook up something weird. It is a big increase, but it's hard to picture this getting used. Maybe I'm wrong. Can't wait to see what comes out of it. Flamethrower's aspect. Incinerate splits into 3 beams, each dealing 70 to 85% of normal damage. Cool. We're trying to give Incinerate some love. I like it. Gives it a little bit more area. Some people just want to play with a flamethrower, and so far it's been tough. It's still fun, but see, this could be cool. All right, balancing updates. Buffs and nerfs. General unique items. Banish Lord's Talisman. Everyone's favorite. Updated visuals and sounds to indicate your next core skill overpower. That's cool. Critical strike overpower damage reduced from 80 to 20 to 20 to 60. There she is. Giving it the nerf hammer. Resources needed for guaranteed overpower reduced from 300 to 275. Okay, fine. Not nearly enough to compensate for this. I do think in a lot of overpower builds, Banished Lords is still going to be like a best in slot amulet, but it's significantly worse, that's for sure. Tybalt's Will. Damage increase while unstoppable reduced from 20 to 40 to 10 to 20. We knew we were coming for both of these, so this isn't a huge surprise. The damage increase persists for 1 second longer after being unstoppable. Again, they gave slight compensation in both cases, but huge damage nerfs, which is fine. We've had several seasons of so many builds running both of these pieces of gear. It's okay to move on. Razorplate. Razorplate has been updated to function within the new Masterworking system. Now has 4 Thorn affixes instead of no affixes, and Thorns has a 10% chance to deal 100 to 150% increased damage. I love Thorns. I've been working on a Thorns minion build that I'll put out before Season 4. It's already going crazy before all these buffs. This is really cool, and Razorplate might, find a place in those types of builds, and I hope that it does, because I just think it's a cool piece of gear, and it was always kind of bizarre how it had no affixes. Legendary aspects. Disobedience. Armor stacks no longer fall off independently. They now refresh or reset at the same time. Armor gain changed to 25 to 40%. Okay, so we could get up to, so this is another nerf to the armor gained, isn't it? Because I think right now you can get up to like 66% at max or something like that on like a chest piece. Could be wrong. It's something in that neighborhood. This is interesting though, like they don't fall off independently, so if you ever watch your tooltip with Disobedience, those numbers fly up and down with every damage instance. Now they're just gonna, go off all at the same time if you don't have damage in a certain period of time, it sounds like. That's totally fine, but Disobedience looks like it got hit again, unless, I could be wrong, but I don't think that I am. Assimilation. Previously, you have an 8% increased dodge chance versus enemies affected by DOT. When you dodge, you gain 5 to 10 primary resource. Now, you have 8% increased dodge chance, which is flat, which is nice. And when you dodge, you fortify for 5 to 10% of your max life. Interesting. I think this is general, so any class can use this, so if you have a hard time getting Fortify, this is a good way to do it. I'm immediately thinking about rogues. They use dodge much more than other classes, and maybe you can get a little bit tankier with the rogue. That's good news, I guess. Retribution. Chance to stun increased from 8 to 10%, now increases damage to stunned and knockdown enemies. Okay, it has a second utility. Knockdown is not the most common thing out there, so we'll see. Again, maybe a rogue that has stun grenades and is knocking things down, either with that passive node or with like poison traps. We'll see. It could be good. Inner Calm. Used to be you deal 5 to 10% increased damage for each second you stand still, up to 40. Now you deal 5%, 10% increased damage, triple this bonus after standing still for 3 seconds. Interesting. A constant damage multiplier, and then you can actually triple it. I have a suspicion Inner Calm might see some play on builds that otherwise weren't taking it. Crowded Sage. Used to be that you heal for 0 to 181 life per second for each close enemy, up to 4 to 605 life per second. Now you have an 8% increased dodge chance. Successful dodges restore 5 to 20% of your max life. Huh. Again, there's some synergies going on. Just gotta put them together, but that's interesting. Bold Chieftains, now usable by both Barbs and Druids. Really glad for the aspect changes. This ring is so hard to find, and then like once you get one, you find like 100 for some reason. But it seems like now it's going to apply to Blood Howl, Debilitating Roar, because those are going to be called shout skills on the Druid tree. Cool, like it. It's going to unlock things. Needle Flare now also applies Thorns to Necromancer minions. Thank you. So a Razor Plate with new affixes with Needle Flare is going to make a Thorns minion build blow up entire screens. This is very exciting news. Hectic. Cooldown reduction reduced from 2 to 4 seconds to 1 to 2. They just nerfed it. Okay. Miscellaneous developers note, monsters will still deal more damage at the higher level they are, but their relative damage reduction will remain the same from level 100 onwards. This change was made to account for level 200 boss monsters doing extreme amounts of damage to players that are capped for armor. Okay. That's good, I think. Yeah, it's helpful. Necro, Barb, Druid, and Sword Companions will now receive 100% of their players' attributes. Yo, check out on my channel, I already had those Druid Wolves going crazy. They can already kill everything in the game. They're about to be insane. I'm talking passive swings for like 1,000,000+ damage, and the active for like 20+ billion. Check it out, it's on the channel. But yeah, this is great. It's companion time. And yeah, every legion is going to be hordes of minions. Should be an interesting season to say the least. Skill tags have been updated everywhere to allow more aspects and other effects to affect more skills and abilities. Examples: applicable shout skills for Druid and Barb are now tagged as shouts. New chain tag for abilities like Chain Lightning and Rabies. New mobility tag for abilities that move and or teleport the player, such as Caltrops and Teleport. More skills are now tagged as core skills, such as Sorc mastery skills and other skills which use resources like Bone Spirit. Additionally, various aspects have been updated to account for these changes. This is going to do a lot because there's a lot of things where it's like your core skills or your mastery skills do this. Now having the ability to sort of weave these things together is going to be pretty cool. So more build variety, always a fan of that. DR granted by Fortify has been increased from 10 to 15. Fortify W, nice. Cooldown reduction is now capped at 75%. I don't know why they don't want to let us reduce our cooldowns. Just don't cap it at all, in my opinion. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We'll take it. Physical damage calculation against damage reduction now caps at level 100. So there used to be this whole thing where you had to get to like, I don't know, was it 13,500 armor to cap against 154, which is the monster level in Nightmare Dungeon 100. Seems like that's all going to change in a more player-friendly way, so that's good. The maximum evade charge affix has been increased from 2 to 3. Nice, because if we can still upgrade it, that means it's going to go to 4. We'll have 5 evades. I like to zoom around dungeons myself. The attacks reduce evade's cooldown affix has been increased from 0.8 to 1.5. More evade. The evade grants movement speed affix has been increased from 50 to 125. Okay, never mind. If I want to zoom around dungeons, this is the affix I'm taking. You are going to be whipping that thing all over. That's crazy. That's awesome. All resistances from amulets has been increased from 19 to 25. Thank you. Single element resistance on rings has been increased from 8 to 10. It's going to be easier to get our resistances. This is great. We want to cap them. It's sometimes a huge journey trying to do that, so we will take any help we can get. Barbarian General. Barbarian's 10% innate DR has been removed. 07. Barbs are coming back to Earth. Legendary powers that require Call of the Ancients to be equipped no longer have that requirement. Previously, Dust Devils would have varying duration, speeds, and movement patterns based on which legendary aspect created them. Now they all behave consistently regardless of which aspect they're from. Yeah, it's going to be Dust Devil time. We all know it. We've seen the clips. It's ridiculous. It's going to be fun. Additionally, the following updates have been applied for Dust Devils. The maximum number of Dust Devils that can be active at once is now 15. Oh, I spoke too soon. Dust Devils now move more quickly and dissipate sooner. I mean, they're still going to be everywhere, don't get me wrong. They definitely are, but yeah, at least it's not going to be like 100 on the screen at once. So skills, charge, DR reduced from 250 to 180, or damage, not damage reduction, sorry. So they nerf charge, still not bad. Power charge, cooldown reduction per target hit is reduced from 3 to 2 seconds. Cooldown reduction for hitting a boss reduced from 6 to 4. And max cooldown reduction reduced from 9 to 6. So definitely nerfing charge. It was everywhere. Yeah, they've nerfed it. Furious Hammer of the Ancients. Previous, Hammer of the Ancients deals 1x increased damage for each point of fury you had when using it. Now, Hammer of the Ancients gains 2% increased crit chance for every 10 fury you have when using it. I don't mean to be hyperbolic. Hoda is dead. They have killed it. They have absolutely killed Hoda. This is the reason it was so incredibly strong. It is not going to be what it was. It might still be a good ability. It might still work in some builds. There might be some variants, whatever. But it is. This is the biggest nerf I've ever seen in Diablo 4, I think, just on paper. Violent Rend. Rend's damage against vulnerable enemies increased from 12x to 25x. They want some Rend builds. Okay. Rupture. The initial damage dealt from Rupture is now guaranteed to overpower. Okay, Rend Rupture is kind of fun. It feels a little clunky sometimes in big mobs, but like, we are so back. I think this is very cool. I'll definitely try out Rend and Rupture next year with Fields of Crimson, or next season with Fields of Crimson. Look forward to that. Call of the Ancients. Leap damage increased, Frenzy damage increased, Whirlwind damage increased, Upheaval damage increased. Great, but again, as long as it actually scales and works, right? This bug has been frustrating. It's been around forever. If they fixed it and made it stronger, then it is time to run an Ancients Barbarian, because it will be fun. It won't be Dust Devil strong, but it will be a good time, and that's what we're here for. Kick. Range of damage increased from 2.2 meters to 3 meters. Additional damage to enemies kicked or knocked into a wall is increased from 70 to 105. They want people to kick people, so we'll see if we can make that work too. Power Kick. Damage per 10 fury consumed is increased from 20 to 25. These are relative buffs, but yeah, alright, more kick. Passives, Unbridled Rage. Bonus damage reduced from 135x to 100x. This is another nerf to Hoda. Hoda also, a lot of Barb builds took this, but Hoda got so much power from this key passive, and this is just another nerf. So yeah, 07, Hammer of the Ancients. You treated us well for 3 seasons. Hopefully we'll see you back in the future. Weapon Expertise. The Polearm Expertise has a better lucky hit chance now from 10 to 15, and damage while healthy increased from 10 to 15. So, okay. Two-Handed Mace Expertise. Fury gained increased from 2 to 5. Used to do 15x increased crit damage to stun invulnerable enemies with Berserking. Now you deal 15% increased critical strike damage while Berserking. So you used to do crit damage to stun invulnerable. Now it's just all the time. So that is a really strong buff. Two-Handed Axe Expertise. Vulnerable damage was reduced from 15 to 10. They have nerfed the Axe Expertise. It was very common. One-Handed Axe Expertise, crit strike chance against injured enemies, increased from 5 to 10%. Okay. I think as long as the word injured's in here, it's still going to be, like, not that popular. It's just a really strange affix to, get to. Has utility for bosses maybe, but that's about it. Paragon, Martial Glyph, cooldown reduction reduced from 4 to 2 seconds. They continue to attack the Martial Glyph. They do not... First they took away the triple shout function of it, and now this, so I guess that's happening. Blood Rage Legendary Node. Damage increased by Berserking bonus reduced from 25 to 10 and caps at 30x damage bonus. So they figured us out, Barb players. They know what we were doing, and they came for all of it. Crusher Glyph. Additional bonus. Overpower damage reduced from 30x to 20x. Dominate. Bonus overpower damage per 5 willpower reduced from 39.9 to 14.9 at glyph level 21. Additional bonus, after not overpowering for 30 seconds, your next attack will overpower, is now every 30 seconds your next attack will overpower. This is a nice buff, right? It's not getting reset, like you're getting all the utility out of this now, and it's just going to be like every 30 seconds you get an overpower, so that's good, we'll take that. Seething Glyph. Additional bonus, Fury gain on enemy kill increased from 3 to 5. Legendary Aspects. Aspect of Sundered Ground. Description reworded for clarity, no functional change. So every 25 seconds, Upheaval is guaranteed to overpower and deals 10-25 increased damage. Time is reduced by 4 seconds. So what's the more clear one? It's every 25 seconds, your next Upheaval cast is guaranteed to overpower and deals 10-25% increased damage. The timer is reduced by 4 seconds when Upheaval overpowers a boss or an elite enemy. Cool. So like between that, the glyph above, we can have a lot of overpower Upheaval. Maybe there's some Upheaval energy coming in Season 4. Find out. Earthstriker's Aspect. Bonus OP damage reduced from 35 to 50 to 15 to 30. Aspect of the Relentless Arm Master. Fury generation while all 3 walking arsenal bonuses are active increased from 25 to 35 to 35 to 65. The theme here, they really want to see more variety in barb builds. They're sick of triple shout. They're trying to nerf it or at least bring it in line. Walking arsenal gets a buff, so yeah, we'll see if that takes hold. Windlasher's aspect. Previously, casting double swing twice within 1.5 seconds creates a dust devil that deals 0.22 to 0.32 damage to enemies behind the target. Now, casting double swing creates a dust devil that deals 0.35 to 0.5 to enemies in its path. Alright, and they got rid of the tripling the amount of dust devils from the PTR, it looks like. So yeah, instead of doing it twice to get a dust devil, you get every single swing and it does more damage. So, yep, same theme. Devilish aspect. Previous, after generating 100 Fury, your next attack deals direct damage, creates a Dust Devil that deals 0.24 to 0.38 damage to enemies behind the target. Now, after generating 100 Fury, your next direct damage creates 3 Dust Devils that deal 0.4 to 0.6 damage to enemies in its path. So instead of 1, you get 3. The damage is up. Yep. Dust Devil aspect. Previous. Whirlwind leaves behind Dust Devils that deal 0.22 to 0.32 to surrounding enemies, 1 Dust Devil for 1.5 seconds. Now it does more damage like the other ones, and you get, looks like twice as many because it's going down to 0.75 seconds. So Whirlwind is also going to be a Dust Devil build if you so choose. So yeah, we're going to be blinded by Dust Devils. Aspect of Fierce Winds. Dust Devils created reduced from 5 to 3. That's a PTR change. Veteran Brawlers aspect. Now increases the damage for charge, leap, and kick. The timer on the buff has been removed. Aspect of Giant Strides. Previously, reduced the cooldown of leap by 3 to 5 seconds per enemy hit, up to a maximum 9 seconds. Now it reduces the cooldown of leap by 2 to 5.5 seconds per enemy hit, up to a maximum of 9 seconds. Hitting a boss with leap provides the maximum. It's a slight buff, I guess. Aspect of Anemia. Previously, lucky hit, direct damage against bleeding enemies. It's a 15 to 30% chance to stun them for 2 seconds. Now, lucky hit damage of bleeding or vulnerable enemies has a 15% 30 chance to stun them for 2 seconds. Okay, so they added vulnerable in, so you're going to get a lot more procs of that lucky hit. A vocalized empowerment, or previously echoing fury. Okay, now equipable by barbs and druids. It used to be that shouts generate 2 to 4 fury a second. Now shout skills generate 5 to 10 primary resource per second. So they changed the name so it could also apply to druids. But this is a huge buff. Like, you're never going to run out of fury if you get your shouts and, you know, this going on bold chieftains and now vocalized empowerment. You will have limitless fury. You already kind of did. Now it's going to be just ridiculous. So great. That's a good buff, I guess. We needed a few of those. The barbs are getting hit pretty hard here. Unique items. Rage of Harrogath. Previously, it was a lucky hit that up to a 20-40% chance to reduce the cooldowns of non-ultimate skills by 1.5 seconds when you inflict bleeding on elites. Now, it's a lucky hit. Inflicting bleeding on an enemy, so not an elite, has a 20-40% chance to reduce the cooldowns of your skills by 1 second. So this can also include ultimates, and they didn't, like, I thought they were going to change it to just herd shouts again, but they left the shouts in, so any bleeding has a chance to reduce cooldowns. Rage of Harrogath is about to be really good, I think. Azure Wrath. Damage dealt when freezing enemies increased from 2 to 3 to 3 to 4.5, so it buffed it, and it can now trigger from non-core skills. Cool, nice. Fields of Crimson. The blood pool now makes enemies take increased damage from all damage types. It is Rend Rupture time, my friends. Let's do this together. Damage bonus increase from 20 to 30%. Ancient's Oath, bonus damage duration increase from 3 to 5 seconds. Ancient's Oath is already a fun, unique, like, throwing all those chains, it's pretty cool, but it obviously doesn't have a place in many builds right now. Alright, let's talk druids. Spirit boons. Pack leader, cooldown reset chance increase from 20 to 25. This is hilarious, because I also talked about this in my the Earth Druid build that I put out. If this already procs all the time. Like, this happens so often, and now it's going to be even more. Cool. Yeah, I'm into it. I love druid buffs, and I think druids got pretty much universally buffed here, so let's keep our eyes on that. Energize. Spirit restoration increased from 10 to 20. Nice. Masochistic. Critical strike healing increased from 3 to 5. Cool. Wariness. Reduced damage from elites increased from 10 to 15. This was already taken in like every single build, because it's in a row with like not the greatest options. Now it's just better. So, I mean, heck yeah. Onto the skills. Claw, damage increased. They buff Claw. Enhanced Claw, attack speed increased. Alright, so Claw is stronger. Maul, damage increased. Enhanced Maul, Fortify increased. They buffed Maul. Raging Pulverize, stun duration increased from 2 to 3 seconds. Fine. I mean, it doesn't really matter, I don't think, but that's, I mean, it's a big buff. It's just like, sure. Shred, damage increased by 10%. Enhanced Shred, healing increased from 2 to 4. Shred might have a place as a great leveling build for Druid. Like right now, Druid leveling is sort of painful compared to other classes. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out. Debilitating Roar is now categorized as a shout skill. Talked about that already. Wolves now gain Unstoppable when the skill is cast. Their health is increased by 200% and their respawn reduced from 10 to 5 seconds. I am telling you, Wolves with like the Storm's Companion pants might just be incredible next season. Like I said, check out the video I did where I'm already making it work in Season 3. It's only going to get way better from here. Druid Wolves, rise up. Hurricane, damage increase from 134 to 187. Alright, I think we've got, I know, I saw some videos. It looks like they've got like a Righteous Fire thing going on where Hurricane's just obliterating everything around it. And there might be some bugged interactions there, but Hurricane builds are for sure coming. Petrify. Prime Petrify. Previous, Petrify's effect durations were increased by 1 second. Now, Petrify grants 50 spirit when cast, and its effect durations are increased by 1 second. They buffed Petrify. Already like the best ultimate, but like they buffed it again. Supreme Petrify used to be killing an enemy, gave you 25 spirit. Now killing an enemy affected by Petrify reduces its cooldown by 1 second. Hitting a boss with Petrify reduces its cooldown by 10 seconds. Oh, we are so back. Earth Druids, we are back. This is going to be awesome. Lacerates, damage increased by 22%. Prime Lacerate used to be that hits healed you for 3% life, doubled on crits. Now hits heal for 3% max life, doubled on crits. The first crit is guaranteed and deals 150% damage. Okay. Supreme Lacerate. Lacerate's initial strike is guaranteed to critically strike and deals 150% increased damage. Now, whenever Lacerate critically strikes, you deal 4% increased damage for 10 seconds, up to 40%. This is cool because Lacerate already has like no cooldown. It's, I think, the shortest cooldown ultimate in the game. And so like maybe this is a way where you get these good buffs. You go into a boss fight, you use this, you get your 40% buff, and then you just go crazy with Shred or something. Like, I could see it for sure. Call of the Wild, we are in the passives. Damage increase from 10 to 12. This is the one where you buff your pet skills, so that's just going to make them even stronger. Quick Shift used to be that when a shape-shifting skill transforms you to a different form, it deals 7% increased damage. Now, when shape-shifting into a new animal form, you deal 1% increased damage for 3 seconds, up to 6. So instead of it being just the skill that shifts you, it looks like this is like a stackable buff. Again, some stuff with Bestial Rampage might be able to work that out. Heightened Senses. Previously, upon shapeshifting into a werebear or werewolf, gain 4% DR against elites for 5 seconds. Now, when shapeshifting into an animal form, werebear grants 2% DR and werewolf grants 2% movement speed each for 6 seconds. Bonuses are doubled while they're both active. So, yeah. Just so many buffs for druids. This is great. Clarity. Used to get 2 spirit when you transform to human. Now, after casting a companion skill, your next core or wrath skills damage and crit chance are increased by 5% up to 15%. Cool. This wasn't ever particularly useful in my opinion, so like great. It's something new now. Digitigrade Gate. Movement speed increased from 3 to 4%. Nice. Let's get faster. Let's clear faster. I'm all for it. Legendary Aspects. The Changeling's Debt. It used to be that if you damage a poison enemy with a werebear skill, it will instantly deal that percentage of poisoning damage and consume the poisoning. Now you deal 25 to 40% increased damage while hitting a poison enemy as a werebear or a crowd-controlled enemy as a werewolf. Okay, this is going to be a very common aspect, I think. There's just too many ways to proc these things, like to just come to mind right away, so that'll be interesting to see. Aspect of the Unsatiated. Previously, after killing an enemy with Shred, your next werewolf skill generates 25 to 32% more spirit and deals increased damage. Now, after casting or killing an enemy with Shred, you gain 20 spirit. Your werewolf skills deal 10 to 25% increased damage when cast above 50 spirit. Okay. So if we get our spirit under... Okay, so if we get our spirit under control, werewolf skills just always will get this buff. So that's significant. And yeah, like, this is going to work well. Blurred Beast, damage increased from 25 to 32% to 25 to 35%. Nice. Night Howlers. Blood Howl used to increase crit chance by 5 to 10. In addition, it affects nearby companions and players. Now it's a shout skill, increased crit chance. In addition, it also affects nearby companions and players. So this has been bugged for a while, and I hope they know, and I hope they fixed it. It used to, like, in the last couple months, it's when you use this aspect, it just causes Blood Howl to do nothing. You don't get heals, you don't get spirit, you don't do anything. It just does nothing. So hopefully they fixed the bug with this aspect, but, you know, cool. Raw Might. Now all shapeshifting skills contribute to the buff stacks. Damage increased from 35 to 50 to 40 to 55, and the stun duration is increased from 2 to 3. All shapeshifting skills contribute to the buff stacks. So wolf skills will also help you get this big bear bonus. It's quite interesting. We're back to Bestial Rampage once again. Shepherds. Now wrath skills also gain increased damage from companions. Alright, this is already used all the time in builds right now. It's going to be still out there because we're just giving it more ways to be used. Mangled. Previously, when you're struck as a werebear, you have a 25 to 40% chance to gain 3 spirit. Now, while in werebear form, you gain 10 to 25 spirit every 8 seconds. Pulverize. I mean, there's not really room, I don't think, on a pulverize build for this, but yeah. Mending Stone. Killing an enemy with any skill now replenishes the barrier as well as earth skills. Okay, that's nice. The thing with Mending Stone is it takes your earth and bulwark to 9 seconds. It's really good when you're leveling. Once you get to the high tiers, the problem with earth and bulwark, like, it's good as an unstoppable source, but it doesn't have, it's based on base life, not max life, so it's just not a tanky enough barrier to really survive, like, Nightmare Dungeon pushing anyways. But you know, this is helpful, I guess. And then this is Echoing Fury again. We already talked about this. Now just on the Druid section. Unique items. Flesh Render. The damage bonus increased from 10 to 15%. Previously, Debilitating Roar and Blood Howl deal damage to nearby poison enemies, increasing by 15% for every 100 willpower you have. Now, casting a defensive skill deals damage to nearby poison enemies, increased by 15 for every 100 willpower you have. So now it can be any. You can also use like Earth and Bulwark or Cyclone Armor, and you can get the same Flesh Render effect. So that's cool. Waxing Gibbous, life on kill replaced with spirit on kill. Sure, this is mostly used for the stealth and the huge hits you can generate with Shred, but well, actually no, that's good, because we were talking before about if we get our spirit under control, Shred goes crazy, so this appears to help with that. In the Paragon, the Tracker Glyph, poisoning damage effect duration increased from 33 to 40. Sure. Bane Glyph, poisoning effect, double damage chance increased from 10 to 15. Okay. Shapeshifter, the crit chance increased from 20 to 25, just buffs across the board. Like I said, we love it. Wilds, damage increased from 120 to 130. And the Inner Beast Legendary Node. Previously, after shapeshifting, your spirit costs are reduced by 10% for 5 seconds up to 30. Now, after shapeshifting, your spirit costs are reduced by 5% for 10 seconds up to 45. If you reach 10 stacks, the bonus resets and reduces the cooldown of your ultimate by 5 seconds. That's pretty cool. I think there's going to be a lot of use for that. It's one of the things we just got to see how it feels in game and all that, but that's pretty cool. On to the Necromancer. So skills, Enhance Blight. The tooltip now correctly references the defiled area for the slow effect. Blood Mist. Remove the movement speed reduction. Thank you kindly. Golem. This ability can now be activated while crowd controlled. Activating this ability makes the player unstoppable. One of the best changes for Necro, aside from the general minion buffs. Sources of Unstoppable were entirely too rare, and now you have an easy one if you have a Golem on your toolbar. Decompose. That's a lot of notes on Decompose. They reworded the description to be more consistent with the use of corpses. Interval reduced from 1.5 to 1 second, so you can get more corpses. Increased channeling essence generation from 8 to 10 a second. Upgrades now activate when spawning corpses instead of channeling for a second. Enhanced Decompose. Decompose now causes an explosion, 40% weapon damage when creating a corpse or when the target dies. Interesting. I wonder if that explosion can crit. Decompose can do something. Now it also generates 10 essence when creating a corpse. Acolytes Decompose. Previously, every 1.5 seconds, Decompose makes enemies vulnerable for 4 seconds. Now, Decompose explosions make enemies vulnerable, and that's when it creates a corpse, which is every second, right? Yeah, so, okay. Decompose, very buffed. Initiates Decompose. Movement speed bonus is now on Decompose explosions instead of channeling. Bonus movement speed duration increased from 5 to 8 seconds. Yeah, Decompose time. Army of the Dead. Increased spawn rate of volatile skeletons by 50%. Nice. Supreme Army of the Dead. Spawn rate adjusted to match volatile skeletons. Spawn rate adjusted to match volatile... Oh, so okay, so they're going to happen faster, and the actual bringing back your minions, I think that is, will be faster. And it's now categorized as a summoning skill, so it'll get buffs from like summoning skills. I don't know if summoning skill damage is still in a fix with the gear change, but things like that. Passive. Inspiring Leader. It used to be that after you've been healthy for 2 seconds, you and your minions gain attack speed. Now, while you're healthy, you gain increased crit chance, and your minions gain increased crit chance. Okay, so they changed it from attack speed to crit chance, and it's just while you're healthy instead of having to have been healthy for 2 seconds, so that's nice. Callan's Edict. Key passive, it used to be that after you've not taken damage in the last 2 seconds, your minions gain 15% attack speed, bonus doubled with 7 minions. Now it's just your minions gain 3% attack speed for each active minion. Cool. W. Book of the Dead. Skeletal Warriors will now run ahead of the Necromancer more often and can initiate combat. Thank you so much. We need aggressive minions. Skirmishers. Remove the 3-second limit from the second upgrade. Okay. Reapers, their first upgrade used to be that attacks against enemies who are immobilized, slowed, stunned, and vulnerable reduce the cooldown of their powerful wind-up attacks by 2 seconds. Now, wind-up attacks reduce one of your active cooldowns by 3 seconds. Seems like a huge quality of life improvement. That's great. I will say, though, those wind-up attacks are, I think, the only thing that naturally procs Lucky Hit, so I guess there's a little give and take there, but that's totally reasonable trade-off for us. Defenders, they now taunt in an area around them instead of negating damage every 6 seconds from the first upgrade. Let's go. This will make it so you're getting attacked a lot less, and your defenders are getting attacked a lot more. The second upgrade is changed from increasing thorns inherited to the player to defenders reduce damage taken by 99%. Okay, so they're going to taunt and be invincible, is what I'm gathering from this. So, yeah, defenders are possibly very, very good. Shadow Mages, their attacks now pierce. The first upgrade used to be that Shadow Mage attacks have a 10% chance to stun for 2 seconds, which could not happen to the same enemy more than once every 5 seconds. Now you deal 3x increased damage for each active Shadow Mage. Cool, and it's you deal. So this is actually very significant wording, and that's huge. The second upgrade now has an additional Shadow Bolt fired every 3 attacks, down from 4, another buff. With the Cold Mages, attacks now gain 3 essence from the first upgrade. Attacks now apply vulnerable without condition. Wow, okay. That's fantastic. So everything's just vulnerable all the time. It's just that's great. Bone Mages, first upgrade. Previously, reduce the life cost of your Bone Mage's attack from 15 to 10. After being alive for 5 seconds, Bone Mages deal 40% increased damage. Now, Bone Mages now cast Bone Splinters or Bone Spear every 6th attack if it's on your action bar. Oh no. That's pretty cool. I'm curious to see how the interactions go and what it actually does. On the second upgrade, it used to be that each time a Bone Mage dies from its own attack, they leave behind a corpse and fortify you. Now, Bone Mage drops a corpse when they die, so it doesn't have to be from their own attack. Bone Mage attacks will grant 3% max life fortify. Alright. Blood Golem. The Golem now absorbs 30% up from 15% from the first upgrade. The second upgrade active ability from Golem also heals the player for 5% max life, each enemy drained. Okay. Bone Golem. First upgrade, it used to be that each time your Bone Golem takes up to 20% of its max life as damage, it sheds a corpse. Now it spawns 5 corpses around the Golem where its ability is used. Second upgrade. Previously, your Bone Golem gains 10% max life. The amount of thorns it inherits is up to 50 from 30. Now your Bone Golem unleashes Bone Spikes when taking damage. I wonder if that'll work somewhat like Ice Spikes for a Blizzard Sword. Probably not, but I'm curious what that does. The Iron Golem's upgrade now casts the Shockwave every 2 attacks instead of 4, and Shockwave damage increased from 40 to 154%. That's quite a buff. The second upgrade now also pulls enemies in instead of applying vulnerable. All minion stuff is just going to be so back. It's so through the roof. We should enjoy this while we can. They're definitely going to come back with the Nerf Hammer either mid-season or like next season. Enjoy it while we can. Let's do this. Legendary aspects. Blood Soaked. It used to do movement speed is no longer reduced when Blood Mist is active. Now that's just all the time. So now it's while in Blood Mist form, it increases your movement speed by 20%. W. Unyielding Commanders. Previously, while Army of the Dead is active, your minions gain 70 to 84% attack speed, take 90% reduced DR. Now, while Army of the Dead is active, your minions deal 70 to 100% increased damage and take 90% reduced damage. That's fine. I mean, yeah, that's fine. That's good. Occult Dominion also increases the max number of skeletal warriors by 2. Okay, so this used to be, I think, the one for mages. So now, yeah, Blood Getters used to do the warriors. It was increased by 2. And now your skeletal priests also empower you at 50 to 5 to 70% effectiveness. Very interesting. Flesh Rending. Previously, when Decompose spawns a corpse, gain 25 to 40 essence. Now, when Decompose explodes, gain 25 to 40 essence. If I'm reading it right, this is just going to be every second. So that's just something. Rotting. Previously, Decompose can chain and burst up to 2 additional targets. When Decompose spawns a corpse, it has a 50 to 100% chance to spawn a corpse under all afflicted targets. After, Decompose can chain and burst up to 2 additional targets. Explosions from Decompose deal 15 to 30x increased damage. I mean, you might be able to come close to just doing a pure basic Decompose, like no spender build. I could be overreacting, but yeah, very curious to see how that goes. Aspect of the Damned used to be 40 to 50x increased shadow damage to enemies affected by Decrepifying Iron Maiden. Now it's 40 to 50 increased shadow damage to enemies afflicted by any curse. Very useful. Most builds take Decrepify. They probably still will. It's very good. Not many want Iron Maiden, so this just made this more useful for sure. Untimely Death. Used to be that each percent of your max life you heal beyond 100 grants you 0.5x of bonus overpowered damage, and the next one up to 30-60. Now it's each percent of max life you heal beyond 100 grants you the same thing, but it's crit damage on your next crit strike up to 30 to 60. Okay. Interesting, I suppose. Potent Blood. It used to be that while you're healthy, Blood Orbs grant 10 to 25 essence. Now Blood Orbs just grant 10 to 25 essence, whether you're healthy or not. That's huge, actually. Because you won't consume some of them to heal. It'll just give you the essence. Unique items. The Ring of Mendeln. It used to be a lucky hit, up to a 10% chance to power over your minions, causing the next attack to explode. Now every 6th attack from each minion is empowered, and it's going to explode for the physical damage. No more lucky hit mechanics on this. This is always hard because very few, like only those big Reaper things actually proc lucky hit. So it had to be your lucky hit or Thorns could do it to get the Mendeln to go. Now it's just going to be every 6th attack. Hopefully this ring's easier to find. It reminds me of Bold Chieftains. I just can't ever seem to find it when I want it, but we'll see. Lidless Wall. Lucky hit chance increased from 5 to 25 to 15 to 30. Nice. Bloodless Scream. Essence gain increased from 7 to 10 to 15 to 20. Cool. On the Paragon. The Control Glyph. It used to, you and your minions deal 10x increased damage to Slaughter Shield, or instead 20x increased damage to Thunder Frozen. Now, you and your minions deal 20x increased damage to crowd-controlled targets. Whoa, okay. That's huge. Dead Razor. The additional bonus, maximum bonus effect, are buffed to 15x. Okay. Dominate, bonus overpower damage per 5 willpower, reduced from 39 to 14.9. This is the same thing we saw in the Barb. Cult Leader Paragon Node. It used to be that your minions deal 15x increased damage for each 20x of attack speed bonus they have. Now your minions deal 30x increased damage for each 20x of attack speed bonus they have, up to a maximum of 100% attack speed bonus. So would that be 150x damage? Am I doing that right? If you got them 100% attack speed bonus, that'd be okay. Wow. Alright, we are on to the Rogue. Stun Grenades, granted by various aspects. Base stun, duration increased from 0.5 to 1 second. Skills, Inner Sight. While the Inner Sight gauge is full, you also gain 25% crit chance for 4 seconds. Nice. Attacking enemies that are not marked will fill the gauge, but at 5% of the normal rate. Okay, so you don't have to be tied directly to the one target that it wants you to attack. That's nice. Preparation, reduced energy requirements from 100 to 75. Flurry, damage increased from 66 to 75. Yep, they're trying to buff Flurry, I respect it. Volley can now be cancelled slightly earlier from another skill. Okay, passive, the Victimized Key passive. They fixed an issue where this wasn't activating and scaling from certain instances. I didn't even know that was happening. And they increased the chance to proc from 45 to 50. Cool. Still in the Paragon, the Exploit Weakness Legendary node, maximum increased damage buff from 15x to 25x. Leirana's Instinct Legendary node. It used to be that when Inner Sight's gauge becomes full, you gain 100% dodge chance for 20 seconds. Your next 3 core skills deal increased damage equal to 25x of your core skill damage bonus. New, when Inner Sight's gauge becomes full, you gain 100% dodge chance for 2 seconds. Your core skills deal increased damage equal to 25x of your core skill damage bonus, while Inner Sight's gauge remains full. Okay. So instead of your next 3 core skills, it's like while it remains full. It's okay. Ship. Increased physical damage bonus from 6.6 to 9.9% for each 5 dexterity purchased within range. And we're looking at aspects. Looking at aspects now. Encircling Blades, increased damage range buff from 10 to 25 to 15 to 30. Opportunists, it used to be when you break stealth with an attack, you drop a cluster of exploding stun grenades around your location that deal physical damage and stun for 5 seconds. Now, when you enter or break stealth, you drop a cluster of exploding stun grenades around you that deal physical damage and stun for 1 second. Your grenade skills deal 25 to 40% more damage. This is another second sentence that will always apply. I think Grenade Rogue has a place for sure in Season 4. It's going to be a lot of fun to try and build. Tricksters. Now additionally increases grenade skill damage by 25 to 40%. Surprise. Yeah, more of that. Sorry, I glossed over that, but we'll take it. Surprise. Now additionally increases grenade skill damage by 25 to 40%. Huh. Okay. So you could stack these, I assume, or I hope. Artful Initiative. Grenade skill damage increase is now a range with higher potential increase to 25 to 40. Uncanny Treachery. Previously, dealing direct damage to a dazed enemy with an agility skill grants stealth for 4 seconds. Breaking stealth with an attack grants you 15 to 20% control impaired duration reduction for 4 seconds. Now, dealing damage to a dazed enemy with an agility skill grants stealth for 4 seconds. When stealth breaks, you gain 10% dodge chance for 2 seconds. So we're getting more dodge, which we talked about before. Dodge can do some powerful things now. Very interesting. Siphoned Victuals. Used to be lucky hit, damaging a vulnerable enemy with the core skills up to a 10 to 20% chance to drop a healing potion. Now, damaging a vulnerable enemy with a non-basic skill, so we got a wider range here, has a 5 to 20% chance to drop a healing potion. Frostbitten. It used to be that shield enemies hit by grenade skills have a chance equal to double your crit chance to be instantly frozen for 2 seconds. You deal 10 to 25% increased crit damage against frozen. Now, enemies hit by your grenade skills have the same chance as your crit chance to be frozen for 2 seconds. You deal 10 to 25% increased crit damage to stunned and frozen enemies. So they added stunned. That's very cheeky. With all these stun grenades, right? Because again, second sentence. So now this would apply to stun grenades as long as that's how it actually functions. Escape Artists. Number of attacks dodged reduced from 2-7 to 2-5. Smoke grenade dodge effect cooldown has been reduced from 45 to 20 seconds. Quickening Fog. The maximum dash cooldown reduction is reached from hitting 3 enemies, reduced from 5. Volatile Shadows. Used to be that when a Dark Shroud shadow was removed, you trigger an explosion that dealt shadow damage. Now, when a Dark Shroud shadow is removed, you trigger an explosion around yourself that deals shadow damage and applies shadow imbuement to each enemy it hits. Ooh. Very cheeky. Okay. Very interesting. Blast Trappers. Used to be lucky hits, dealing direct damage to enemies affected by your trap skills has a 30 to 50% chance to make them vulnerable for 3 seconds. Now, it's a lucky hit, dealing damage to enemies affected by your trap skills has a 15 to 30% chance to cause an explosion that deals shadow damage and applies vulnerable for 2 seconds. Okay. Yeah, we'll take that. Lethal Dusk. Used to be evading through an enemy infected by shadow imbuement grants stealth for 4 seconds. Breaking stealth with an attack grants you 1 to 5% max life on kill for 6 seconds. Now, evading through an enemy infected by shadow imbue grants stealth for 4 seconds. Breaking stealth grants you 10 to 25% max life. Okay, so it's just easier to heal, it sounds like. Vengeful. Used to be a lucky hit that making an enemy vulnerable has up to a 40 to 60% chance to grant 3% increased crit chance for 3 seconds up to 9. Now it's still a lucky hit. Damaging a vulnerable enemy rather than making them vulnerable has a 25% chance to create an arrow storm at the location, dealing physical damage over 3 seconds. Your arrow storms deal 25 to 40% more damage. Oh, it's Aerostorm build time, I think. That's just too fun. That's super cool. We can make it rain arrows everywhere. And here's the actual Aerostorm's aspect. Used to be a lucky hit that marksman skills had a 10% chance to create an Aerostorm. And you could have up to 5, and yeah. Now it's a lucky hit that your marksman skills have a 36% chance to create an Aerostorm at the enemy's location, dealing physical damage over 3 seconds. Your Aerostorms deal 25 to 40% increased damage, which we can stack, I think, with Vengeful. I'm immediately making an Aerostorm rogue. I think while everyone else is doing Minion Necro and Frozen Orb, I'm going to be out here doing Aerostorm. This is so cool. The maximum number of active Aerostorms remains at 5. We're just removing from the tooltip to make it more succinct. Sure. Resistant Assailants. When using Concealment, Resistance, and Max Resist have increased duration from 4 to 6 seconds. Unique item, the Arriving Band of Trickery, reduced cooldown from 10 to 6 seconds. Beastfall Boots, damage bonus reduced from 5 to 1.5 per energy consumed to 0.25 to 0.75. Yeah, I was wondering about those. So looks like they nerfed that. The energy restored from using a cooldown increased from 5 to 15. Eagle Horn, damage bonus increased from 40 to 60 to 50 to 70. Sky Hunter, damage bonus increased from 10 to 30 to 20 to 40. Sorcerer, mastery skills now also considered core skills. This will help a lot with buffing them, I think. Enchantments. Frost Nova enchantment. Chance for conjuration skills to cast a Frost Nova increased from 30 to 35. The Frost Bolt enchantment, chill amount buffed from 15 to 18. Flame Shield enchantment. Alright, this is a big change. It used to be basically a get out of jail free card. Once every 120 seconds it saved you from death. Now it automatically activates after cumulatively losing 100% max life. Can only happen once every 30 seconds. This enchant I think is pretty dead for what it was actually used for. I mean, maybe it's still good. I don't know. But they receive feedback that cheap death mechanics aren't desired. I agree with that. If you play hardcore, it's like not even hardcore when certain things like that or death evasion elixirs, so those are out of the game. So it's not doing fatal damage now. It's just when you lose your health. That's fine. Skills. Frozen Orb, new functionality. Travel distance is now controllable. Imagine that. We'll take that for sure. Damage increased by 20%, 0.34 to 0.41. Enhanced Frozen Orb used to be when you cast above 40 mana. Frozen Orb's explosion damage is increased by 45 against elites and 30 against all other enemies. Now, while healthy, the explosion of Frozen Orb deals 45% increased damage. That's great. I think you're going to be healthy more often if you're spamming it than you're going to be above 40 mana. It might be close. Greater Frozen Orb, vulnerable chance increased from 30 to 40%, and duration increased from 2 to 3 seconds. Ice Armor, enhanced Ice Armor, mana regen increased from 25 to 30%. Shimmering Ice Armor, it used to be enemies that hit you with Ice Armor is active have a 15% chance to become frozen. Now, while Ice Armor is active, you reduce its cooldown by 1 second for every 50 mana you spend. Okay, so I'm picturing perma Ice Armor in late game with like a build like Blizzard where you just never run out of resource, right? Like you might just never not have Ice Armor up. That's pretty crazy buff, I think. Mystical Ice Armor. Used to be damage against vulnerable enemies, contributes 50% more to the barrier. Now, while it's active, you periodically chill close enemies for 20% and deal 15% increased damage to frozen enemies. Shimmering Frost Nova. It used to be Frost Nova generates 4 mana per enemy hit. Now Frost Nova grants 3% dodge chance per enemy hit, up to 15. Hitting a boss gives the maximum amount for the next 8 seconds. You keep this effect, and successful dodges generate 20 mana. That's all good and well. The other option on that tree, though, gives vulnerable. It's probably just going to stay more popular. Flame Shield. Enhanced Flame Shield. It used to be that Flame Shield grants 25% increased movement speed while active. Now Flame Shield has a 50% larger burn radius. Okay. I mean, I guess if this is like the way you're applying burn for Tal Rasha, yeah, I get it. Mystical Flame Shield used to be you gain 25% mana cost reduction while it's active. Now, after Flame Shield ends, surrounding enemies are stunned for 3 seconds, and your next skill within 10 seconds is a guaranteed critical strike. Okay. It's different. It's definitely different. Teleport. Enhanced Teleport. Previously, Teleport's cooldown is decreased by 0.5 seconds per enemy hit, up to 3 seconds. Now you gain 30% movement speed for 3 seconds after teleporting. Mystical Teleport. Previously, for 4 seconds after teleporting, crackling energy hits 2 additional enemies. Now, Teleport deals 500% increased damage. It also forms crackling energy for each enemy it hits, up to 3. I wonder if the pull and stun from Raymond of the Infinite counts as hit Never tested that before. Supreme Deep Freeze now also applies vulnerable for 5 seconds when it ends. W. Ice Shards, damage increased by 28%. Wow. Enhanced Ice Shards, ricochet chance increased from 40 to 50. Some Ice Shards may be back on the menu. It was never really off the menu, but it might be really strong. Hydra, baseline maximum amount increased from 1 to 2. Okay. And you get the aspect, yeah, that's fine. More conjurations, more frozen orbs. You know, the theme continues. Lightning Spear, damage increased by 8%. Greater Charge Bolts, damage increased from 25 to 35. All right. Incinerates, new functionality, gain 15% DR while channeling. Wow. Okay. All right. They're trying. Damage increased by 10% from 0.76 to 0.84. Passives. Elemental Attunement, cooldown reset chance increased from 5 to 7%. Mana Shield, damage reduction increased from 7 to 8%. Devouring Blaze, crowd-controlled enemies now provide the damage bonus instead of immobilized. Okay. Sork is going to be so good. Every class seems like it's going to be pretty good. Barb got the worst end of this, I think, but then they got the Dust Devils, so yeah, we'll see where that goes. Conjuration Mastery. It used to be that you gain 1% increased damage for each active conjuration. Now you gain 1% increased damage, 1% movement speed, and 2% mana regeneration for each active conjuration. That's cool. Okay, I like that. Convulsions. Lucky hit chance increased from 3 to 5%. Shocking Impact, damage increased by 100%. Okay. Elemental Dominance, damage increased from 3 to 4%. Legendary Aspects, Bounding Conduits. Used to be gain 15 to 30% movement speed for 3 seconds after teleporting. Now teleport's cooldown is reduced by 1 to 2.5 seconds. After teleporting, crackling energy hits 2 additional enemies for 5 seconds. Okay. Gotta think about that one a little bit, I guess. Frozen Orbit, damage increased from 30 to 40, 45 to 60. We saw that earlier. Concentration. Previously, your mana regeneration is increased if you've not taken damage in the last 2 seconds. Now, casting a conjuration skill guarantees you 10 to 20% damage reduction for 5 seconds. Okay. That's pretty good. Of Abundant Energy. Chance to chain to an additional enemy increased 35 to 50%. Snow Guards, DR increased from 10 to 25 to 15 to 30, so Blizzard gets stronger. That's cool. I do love Blizzard, so I'm not trying to be snarky about it, but doesn't need to be stronger, probably. Of Singed Extremities, now both Immobilized and Stunned trigger the slow effect. Of Conflagration. Previously, while channeling Incinerate, your burning damage is increased by 25 to 40%. Now, while channeling Incinerate, your burning damage is increased by 25 to 40%. Enemies hit by Incinerate explode, burning all surrounding enemies for over 6 seconds. This effect occurs once per 3 seconds. Huh. Okay. Of Splintering Energy. Used to be that Lightning Spear has a 35 to 50% chance to spawn an additional Lightning Spear when you cast it. Now, casting Lightning Spear always spawns an additional Lightning Spear and increases your damage with lightning skills by 10 to 25% for 3 seconds. Shattered. Enemies no longer need to die while frozen to trigger the bonus damage from the Shattered Key passive. Damage increased from 25 to 40% to 30 to 45%. Okay. The Staff of Lamacen. This is the Charge Bolts staff, I believe. Critical strike damage replaced with the ranks of Charge Bolts. Okay. That's interesting. Talrasha. Maximum stacks now capped at 4. All resistance variants increased from 8-3 to 10-4. Huh. Okay. Flame Scar, Ember damage increased by 25%. I mean, if you're going for Incinerate, maybe. Staff of Endless Rage, damage bonus increased from 20 to 40 to 40 to 60. Fireball with this, very interesting. With that new thing where it goes through the firewall, could go nutty. Esu's Heirloom, evade grants movement speed of fixed duration increased from 2 to 3 seconds. Oh boy, I wonder if it goes up to that same 125. These boots are already so fun for that reason. You're just gonna be zooming. Alright, and the Paragon, the Tactician Glyph, new functionality, now lasts 4 seconds longer for each defensive skill not in your action bar. I mean, maybe they're going to push this no defensives, and maybe there'll be builds to take advantage of it. We'll have to give it a try. Winter Glyph, cold damage increases maximum raise from 15 to 18%. Loot updates, all items dropped in World Tier 3 will now be Sacred. All items dropped in World Tier 4 will not be Ancestral. This is great. No more Sacreds in World Tier 4. Thank you. No objections. Very happy about this. Item rarity drop chances have been adjusted. After level 28, the majority, 80% of gear drop that is not legendary will be rare. Additionally, chances to drop legendary items now scales more after reaching level 50. Item power now increases every 5 levels after 50 instead of on a linear scale. Okay. Sure, let's see how it plays out. It's to give players time to focus on their fixes before the power of gear increases again. I guess that makes sense. Elixir updates. Existing elixirs. All weak, strong, and potent elixirs have been removed and replaced with the following more powerful versions. All weak, strong, and potent elixirs have been removed and replaced with the following more powerful versions, which are available at level 50. The elixir of cold resistance increased by 20%, max cold resistance increased by 4%, experience gained increased by 5%, cold resistance 2, so it goes 36, experience by 8. Okay. And then fire resistance is probably the same, right? 24, 36, 8. Yep. So basically all of the elemental resistance ones, they're stronger ones that give you more, and you get more XP for them. So leveling is going to feel a lot better. So I'm going to skip through the rest of these. All right, Iron Barb, armor increased by 300, thorns by 150. Sure. Armor by 500, thorns 250, and then 8% again. Fortitude, max life by 10 at level 1, by 20 at level 2, experience 5 and 8. I think that's going to be consistent. Overpower damage increased by 7, vulnerable damage increased by 7, experience gained. Okay, so this is, I think, a new addition to also the vulnerable damage. So that's interesting. That's interesting for sure. So that's going to go to 15, 15, and 8 at level 2. Precision, crit chance is 4, and then it's 6. Crit damage is 25, and then it's 35. Advantage, attack speed by 7, and lucky hit by 7. Level 2 is 15 and 15. Resource cost reduced by 10, max resource increased by 10, and then 20 and 25 at level 2 for the elixir of resource. So, yeah, stronger elixirs. We can't be mad about it. It's not the most important part of this patch notes, but we'll take it. New elixirs. Elixir of Holy Bolts. After killing an enemy, holy bolts fire from the corpse of that enemy. Oh, that's super interesting, I think. And then momentum. After killing an enemy, increase movement speed by 3% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 15 times. Okay, this is going to be, I think, a meta elixir, honestly. This type of movement speed, like, is just really good. It's going to help clear speed a ton, leveling speed a ton. So yeah, that's really good. Alright, user interface and user experience. Esu's Heirloom now denotes the bonus critical strike chance based on the movement speed in the item's tooltip instead of as a buff on the buff bar. Okay. A new option for camera to zoom further out has been added to the graphics options section of the settings menu. Cool. We'll take that. Crafting materials now have rarities associated with them. Okay. New notifications related to the expiration of migrated seasonal stashes has been added. Sure. Search through your stash now supports filtering by item power. Thank you so much. Drop item can now be used when selecting Control plus click on the keyboard. Alright. The skill tree can now be navigated with the D-pad on controller. Okay, I don't... Sure. This they just got rid of, it looks like, from the PTR. Miscellaneous changes made to improve overall readability throughout the game. Great. Gauntlets. Players who earned a seal of worthy for a given week in the gauntlet now have a 100% chance of being rewarded a unique item. Okay. So it's maybe a new way to farm uniques. Boss monsters won't drop a shrine if they have been regenerated by the Pillar of Proving. Alright. Nightmare Dungeon rotation. The following dungeons will be available as Nightmare Dungeons throughout next season. There are so many more than there used to be. I don't think I need to read through all of these. You get it. There's a much bigger, just more options. It got a little boring running the same, like, I don't know, what was it, 15 or something all the time. So a lot more Nightmare Dungeons. So good variety there. Miscellaneous. Traversal skills such as leap and teleport can now easily travel the distance to go to the edge of the screen. This will improve parity with mouse and keyboard players. I guess that's a controller update. Note, with ultra-wide monitors, you may not traverse to the edge of your monitor, as traversal abilities have a set maximum distance they can travel. You can't cheese it by having a wider monitor. Sure. More skills will now appear more visually powerful as the skill gains power. Additionally, existing visual scaling has been improved. It's kind of cool, right? Like, the art in the game's really good. It's getting better. Glad they're still taking care of that kind of stuff too. Experience rewards from completing dungeon events have been increased. Nice. Faster leveling. DOT effects will no longer interrupt channeled skills. Thank you. Channel times for interactable objects such as picking up bloodstones or activating switches have been adjusted from various times from 1 to 0.2 seconds down to 0.75. I still think we could go instant with this, but I'll take it. It's a step in the right direction. Legendary items and unique items can now be traded. This only includes unaltered items. Imprinting, enchanting, tempering, or masterworking an item will bind it to your account. Finally, if you're playing with a friend and they need a unique and you keep finding it, they need an aspect and you keep, you keep picking up like items that have it and they can't get it in their codex, you can trade them. This is so nice for quality of life. Really happy about this. Mounts can now be spurred in town. Hey, the local PTA has commissioned the town crier to implement scrolls of speeding to no avail. So we're about to be able to finally go fast in town. Thank you. That's much needed. Glyph experience gains have been increased by 25%. Thank you again. This is a W section. These are great. Flat damage from lucky hit procs can be crit hits, but still can't overpower. Okay. That's good. The bonus experience for World Tier 2, 3, and 4 have been increased, so World Tier 1 is the same. Don't think a ton of people play there probably. World Tier 2 increased from 20 to 50%, so that's faster leveling. World Tier 3, 100 to 150. World Tier 4 from 2 to 250. Leveling is going to feel so much smoother in Season 4, but like this is really awesome. Nightmare dungeons that have been empty for 2 minutes will now be automatically closed instead of being reset. The gold cap has been increased from 9 trillion to 99 trillion. I wonder if anyone got there. I don't know. I spent all my money re-rolling. But Motherlock chest now additionally dropped 500 obols. World boss health greatly increased from World Tiers 3 and 4. That's good. It's bummer when you only get a world boss every 3 hours and you go to it and then he just gets like Hoda smashed and he's gone, you know? Increased Murmuring Obol maximum capacity from 2,000 to 2,500. Players can now change their hairstyle in the wardrobe. This is thank you. This is the biggest update of the entire patch. I don't care what anyone says. What a what a buff. Huge buff. Alright. Bug fixes. Accessibility. Fixed an issue where the screen reader didn't identify check marks in the challenge menu. Fixed an issue where the screen reader did not announce various pieces of information in the clan menu. These are all fixed an issue with the screen reader. So, did not announce stats and skill used in the Hall of Fallen Heroes. Did not announce currency types in the character panel. Did not announce anything with the stash search input field. Did not identify the text in the party invitation request pop-up. Could malfunction when switching tabs in the renown page. So, fixed an issue where. Gameplay, Barbarian. Fixed an issue where Iron Skin did not benefit from the bonus barrier generation sources. Upheaval cast by Madawak with Call of the Ancients would not stun with the Supreme Upgrade enabled. The tooltip for the aspect of Ancestral Charge did not denote the damage bonus is multiplicative. Okay, cool. Fixed an issue where the Rumble Glyph did not fully give bonus damage to Earthquake effects. Some non-skill damage effects, such as Metamorphosis or Gore's Devastating Grips, could grant stacks of Furious Upheaval. Fixed an issue where the aspect of Ancestral Charge legendary could occasionally stop functioning properly. So, lots of bug fixes. Another one, the Guaranteed Overpower from Earthstriker's aspect could not be used by Ground Stomp. Now it can. Fix an issue where each hit from the Ancients summoned by the aspect of Ancestral Charge would grant stacks of the Flawless Technique legendary Paragon node. And fix an issue where Call of the Ancients was not properly scaling with ultimate skill damage affixes. Thank you. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier. They fixed Call of the Ancients. We are here. We are doing an Ancients Barb. Reign of Arrows Rogue and Ancients Barb. First 2 builds I'm going to put out once Season 4 drops while everyone else is enjoying, the minions and stuff like that. On Druid, fixed an issue with the bonus damage from the Wild Impulses passive was an additive instead of multiplicative. Oh wow, okay, so those wolves are even better. Fixed an issue where Hurricane was not displaying decimal values for its duration when affected by Endless Tempest passive. Fixed an issue where the damage bonus from Aspect of Retaliation could apply twice. Storm Strike and Claw could attack in place instead of attempting to path the player. Fixed an issue where Storm Strike and Claw could attack in place. Oh, okay, I see. Like with Kronstaff. Bloodhowl would not heal the player or properly regenerate spirit when equipped with the Night Howler's aspect, so they did fix that. I called that out before. Fixed an issue where the fortify values generated by Safeguard was using base life instead of max life. Fixed an issue where the multiplicative damage from the Wild's Glyph did apply for passive attacks from companions. Fixed an issue where the multiplicative damage from the Wild's Glyph did apply for passive attacks from companions. That was an issue? Isn't that exactly what the Wild's Glyph says that it does? Buffs the passive attacks. Huh. Okay, I guess we'll have to see. Earth Spike would deal increased damage exponentially when hitting multiple stacked targets. Never noticed that. Landslides from the Aftershock aspect didn't fully apply the enhanced landslide upgrade modifier. Okay. Inner Beast Legendary Paragon node did not trigger with automatic shapeshift granted by Mad Wolf's Glee or Insatiable Fury, so now it will. Bonus attack speed and crit chance granted by the Night Howler's aspect was inconsistently applied for minions. Blood Howl would not work properly when Ravens was also equipped. Interesting. Fixed an issue where the Spirit Glyph would only stack once instead of the intended 6 times. What? Okay, that's terrible. Fixed an issue where Shred could target invisible enemies. Okay. Alright, Necro. Bonus from the Bone Graft Legendary Paragon node, which should only trigger from damage, could be triggered when enemies are made vulnerable by Enhanced Bone Prison. Movement speed from Death's Approach was not active while in town. Okay, so now it will be. Good. Requiem aspect was granting lower maximum essence per minion than intended. Golem attack initiated right after dismounting wouldn't complete. The horse attack, we all cared. Shadow and Bone Mages did not cast Blizzard when using the Coldbringer's aspect. Skeletal Reapers had inconsistencies when targeting enemies. Movement speed bonus from Death's Approach was marked as multiplicative when it was additive. Yeah, multiplicative movement speed would be... movement speed from the Corporeal Glyph would persist after unequipping the glyph or when the player had no active minions. Chance for Skeleton Reapers to spawn a corpse was much lower than displayed. Okay. Casting Bone Spirit very close to an enemy could cause the skill to not track properly and miss. That's unfortunate. And Hued Flesh did not trigger Necrotic Carapace. Whoa, okay. I think this is where you get your Fortify from creating corpses. On the Rogue, Enhanced Shadow Imbuement always granted an extra critical strike chance instead of just uninjured targets. So now they made it worse, I guess. The tooltip for Chilling Weight passive did not denote increased chill amount in the next rank of the tooltip. The Shadow Clones weren't inheriting ultimate skill damage from the No Witnesses Legendary Paragon node. Unfortunate. Thorns damage could apply to Sky Hunter's critical strike effect. Glyph upgrade pedestal could spawn directly on top of a player if a Nightmare Dungeon was completed while casting Barrage. Okay, that's a goofy one. Aspect of Surprise calculated damage in a way that was inconsistent with other grenade effects. Enhanced Rapid Fire was giving less crit chance than expected. Non-offensive skills such as Concealment could consume the buff from Impetus. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, so now they won't though. That's good. On the Sork, the bonus damage from the Torch and Tactician glyphs were additive instead of multiplicative. Unfortunate. Frigid Breeze passive would activate any type of damage instead of just cold damage. Didn't know about that little bug. Asu's Ferocity was applying increased crit damage to all damage types instead of just fire damage. Oh, alright. RIP. Frozen Orb was applying vulnerable to frozen enemies without the Greater Orb Fix upgrade. So I wasted a skill point on my Blizzard Sork. Destructive Ice Shard's vulnerable effect could be applied by free Ice Shard cast granted by the Ice Shard's enchantment. Fixed an issue where the aspect of Searing Wards could be consumed by free cast granted by the Firewall enchantment. Fixed an issue where other players in the party could trigger the Fireball enchantment effect when far away from the Sorcerer. I noticed this happening. It was kind of hilarious. Yeah. Damage bonus from the Winter Glyph was additive, not multiplicative. Not great. The tooltip for Engulfing Flames now properly describes that it can grant both effects simultaneously. Mana reduction from the efficiency aspect only benefited Incinerate for the first second channeling of the ability. The additional Ice Shards from the aspect of Piercing Cold were dealing more damage than intended. Frozen Orbs fired from the enchantment effect did not prioritize targeting enemies on screen. Meteorites summoned by the Armageddon aspect wouldn't deal damage. Okay. Fixed an issue where the tooltip for Incinerate did not accurately reflect how much mana it consumed. And fixed a rare issue where Crackling Energies could fail to spawn. Not sure anyone would even know that was happening. Alright, general bug fixes. A player's defensive capability could prevent Fortify from being applied. A monster with both affixes active could pull the player to the new teleporter location with the Vortex ability. Fixed an issue in the animation for Echo of Lilith's death from above attack didn't sync up with the actual area of effect for the damage. That's good. I mean, still a cheesy fight, but at least it's going to be a bit more readable now. Players could be damaged while using a traversal. Never saw that happen. Damage bonus from Conceited did not get applied by the barrier granted by Soulbrand. That's unfortunate. Glad they fixed it. Sometimes the enemy would not be immobilized when they should be. Aberrant Cinders would remain on the ground after the Helltide had ended. The player could be unable to move freely when changing world tier and using a town portal at the same time. Attack speed, Magic Paragon nodes granted less attack speed than the tooltip stated. The value now matches the tooltip. Unstoppable effect from eluding could trigger when the player was higher than 35% life. Fixed an issue where free cast of abilities such as Frozen Orb Enchant, in fact, were triggering evade cooldown reduction from the affix that reduces evade cooldown when attacking. I wish they just did. I think that should be intentional. Monsters would stop spawning during the Cursed Shrine event if all present monsters were killed by leveling up. That's what happened. Okay. You couldn't interact with the altar for the Venus Moat collection, Whisper Bounty. Fixed an issue where Bloodmarked player did not count as an elite enemy from the aspect of Protector in PvP. I don't think many people are in PvP, but fixed an issue where the Baron Cinders could be picked up but had no functionality, remained on the ground after Helltide ended. Visual effects from a Bloodbuster explosion could be invisible if the Bloodbuster itself was not visible. Yep. Blood boiling and metamorphosis were not scaling properly with weapon damage. Okay. Last sections here. Quests and dungeons. Fixed an issue where the Drowned Sea Hag and Mariner's Refuge could drop no loot. The Uncorrupted Flesh could not spawn during the Perceived Threat quest. Using a town portal after killing Dematap during the Depths of Despair quest could block progression. Re-entering the quest dungeon for Exhuming the Forgotten could cause a server disconnect. You would not be able to leave the gauntlet after a party member joined. It was voted to stop the run. The Slay All Enemies objective in Goron Canals, Lubin's Rest, and Conclave could fail to complete and block progression. User interface and user experience. Fixed an issue where the affixed preview window at the Occultist showed a fixed value instead of a range of values. The key would not display on the key binding menu if F8 was set as a binding. The tooltip for X-Fall's Corroded Signet implied a larger area of effect than the ring actually did damage in. For controller players that attempt to move and cast an ability but lack the resource for that ability, you will continue to move in that direction until you have enough of your class's resource, at which point you will stop moving and cast the ability. This has been fixed so the player will stop moving even when they don't have enough resources to cast. Fixed an issue where the damage reduction from the Shaco didn't display in the character stats while in town or unmounted. Fixed an issue where swapping key binding presets would persist between play sessions if that was only settings changed. Edgemaster's aspect could sometimes not appear when searching in the stash. Glacial Aspect's tooltip in the Codex of Power was inaccurate. Interesting. Fixed an issue where unequipping a Paragon board that has two unlocked gate nodes not connected to each other would result in the other boards becoming unequipped. Powers on items that scale with player attributes, such as the powers of Deathless Visage or Flesh Render, did not properly display the scaling bonus. Trade chat could still be entered even when it's disabled in the settings. Feats of Strength completion percentage was not accurate when all challenges were completed. The number of affixes were inconsistent between Nightmare Sigils and Spawn Nightmare Dungeons. Yeah, that I think is true. The Inspect window could persist on the screen and block the Trade window when trading in local co-op. Comparisons involving affixes acquired via enchanting were not accurate. And last but not least, miscellaneous bug fixes. Various instances where some items were class restricted when they shouldn't be. Fixed an issue where ancestral items could only be gambled for when the player's character was level 73 or higher. Thank you. Vampiric packs from the Season of Blood could still drop in certain instances. That's funny. Weather effects during Helltide could stop functioning while moving through an area affected by the Helltide. And various performance, stability, visual, and UI improvements. That is it, everybody. We have read all of these patch notes, and there are a ton of them, but this is a massive patch. Season 4 is going to go crazy. I said, leave me a comment. Let me know what you're most excited about. After reading this, I know I'm doing a Reign of Arrows Rogue and an Ancient's Barb because I think it's going to be super fun. And that is it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.